We're going to move on to topic number 5. It's going to be an F1 topic. A lot going on in F1 right now. This is probably one of the most exciting times of the year. But we're going to kick things off with our F1 coverage with Max Verstappen, who just won the Dutch Grand Prix on Sunday. That's his home race. And the Orange Army was out this weekend for Max Verstappen. Brandon Verstappen taking home first place in the Dutch Grand Prix.
Yeah, well, first I want to say, hey, if you're new to this show, give us a subscribe, give us a like here, and give us a follow, all right? We're on a mission to hitting 1,000 subs. And, hey, we've been delivering a lot of great F1 content here from the States, and we've been getting a lot of subs for that. So let's keep it up. We love all our subscribers from around the world, honestly. So just keep it up. Give us a subscribe here. Give us a like if you're liking Comeback Sports here, and we'll keep delivering some great content of especially F1. But yeah, I got to start off with first, and I know producer Ben is going to remember this because he looks in the comments a lot. But I wonder if one of our top commenters, Willie Van Loon, was at the Dutch Grand Prix. Seems like Willie Van Loon's always got something to say when we're talking about F1, especially Max Verstappen. So if he wasn't at the Grand Prix, I'm going to be a little disappointed because the rest of the Orange Army was out there, like you said. And boy, was that amazing to see. Really, my hat's off to the Dutch, putting on an amazing Grand Prix, showing out with the fans. And you could even hear from many of the drivers saying, boy, are we happy to see the stands packed and see all these fans back. And, man, they're popping their orange smoke out there. And even in practice, they were popping the orange smoke and the orange fog and supporting their number one statesman, Max Verstappen, one of the best drivers in Formula One right now. And he's on a hunt to get his first Formula One championship. And he's in a tough battle with Lewis Hamilton right now, and arguably one of the best battles and really one of the best rivalries we've seen in F1 over the last decade, I'd say. So this is really one of the best seasons and one of the most exciting seasons we've had here most recently. And with about, I think, 8 or 9 races left, it's just going to get tighter here as we go. But Max Verstappen did an amazing job winning the Dutch Grand Prix. Was pretty much, out there leading most of the practices. I think in practice 1, the Ferraris topped the charts. In practice 2, the Mercedes looked good. In practice 3, Max Verstappen really put his foot down and really showed that he was going to be the guy leading the Grand Prix. And then in qualifying, had himself an amazing qualifying to get on pole. And you could just see the excitement and the drive that was pushing him around the track, knowing that it was his Grand Prix and that every turn and every corner he took, there was just orange shirts in a sea of orange, and he just knew all that support was there for him. So it's just got to be an amazing feeling when you go to your home Grand Prix and see all that support, and then on top of it, for him to take all that pressure, come out on Sunday and have a masterclass of a drive, and pretty much almost lead almost every lap in the race at one point. The only reason he didn't lead every lap in the race was because of the mix up in strategy. And so they had a pit stop him at one point where Valtteri Bottas, where they were trying a potential one stop for him. So Valtteri got in front on the hard tire compound, but with a new set of tires on there, Max Verstappen hunted him down pretty fast, got by him. And at that point, it didn't even let Lewis Hamilton close the gap like I think Mercedes was hoping they were going to do, was close the gap down a little bit and let Lewis have a chance to maybe get a bite at him. But Valtteri did everything he could do, especially legally, defensive-wise in the car. Max Verstappen was just the best driver on the track that day and that weekend. He had himself a great Dutch Grand Prix, his home Grand Prix. He earned that win, and it was good to see, and it was amazing to see that crowd supporting him.
Yeah, no question. I mean, whether or not you like Red Bull or whether or not you like Max Verstappen, to see a driver in his home race, we mentioned it with Lewis Hamilton winning the British Grand Prix. Anytime you're in your home race and you see those fans, sport the colors and how they react to it. Just when he passed Bottas too, you saw the crowd just go nuts, and It's just awesome to see in F1. But just not only winning that race, but that was the one that catapulted him back to the top of the standings again here in F1 too. I mean, you mentioned pressure. There's definitely pressure there for Verstappen to come through. And for that to happen, I mean, that was just great for the fans, very exciting for all the fans of Verstappen and of Red Bull that were at that race, too. But like you mentioned, this is going to be a battle down the stretch. I mean, over, a couple of races ago, you were like, oh, this, Lewis Hamilton might pull away here. It was Verstappen for most of the year. Then Verstappen got in that crash, and then it just wasn't the same for him for a couple of races. We're talking about the technology and the Red Bull car, and was Lewis Hamilton going to run away with it? Now we have Verstappen take the lead. I think the lead in the standings is going to seesaw a lot throughout the rest of the season. You mentioned 8 or 9 races left. We could see a seesaw of leads, 5 or 6 times maybe, depending on how these guys finish out the season. So it's going to just be an awesome, finish to this year's F1 run, and especially after last year when there was less races, and even though it was a good season, it just didn't feel like the same. Now you have the fans back, you have more races, a full grid of races this season, and this is what F1 fans have been waiting for, to have this kind of home stretch this year.
Yeah, I think all of us fans are excited to see this battle just continue on. And you mentioned Max Verstappen taking the lead in the Constructors' title now by 3 points due to him winning that race. And at Zandvoort, at his home Grand Prix, certainly a race that he's never going to forget, and rightfully so, with all that support that he saw there. And then the race that he put down, the master class of a drive that he put down to earn that win. But just quickly, man, Zandvoort, that track is amazing, especially when we're talking about maybe going on for just 1 lap pace, qualifying pace going around. You even heard many drivers, including Lewis Hamilton, say, man, I love this track, especially on a low fuel run on those red tires where we're really just attacking it. And, it's just an amazing track with all the changes of elevation and then the high speed turns. It was an amazing track to see. And I'm glad that F1 decided to go back there. But let's be honest and let's be real. The one main reason that F1 returned to Zandvoort after so many years was Max Verstappen and all the support that he was going to get, and all those fans turning out, and all the dollars that was going to generate for not only the track, but also for Formula One and for all the teams. So I think it was a great play by Formula One, and cheers to Red Bull and cheers to Max Verstappen for getting that win. But I think there was also a couple of other great things that made this Dutch Grand Prix an amazing race. His teammate, Sergio Perez, had an amazing race, starting from the pit lane due to his car having to, having to take many replacement parts due to a crash previously. But he had an amazing race, passing so many people to get himself back into the points. And at one point, he got on the team radio and he said, "Do you like that? Who's next?" And he just kept passing guys left and right. All right. And then another great point of the race that I liked was Valtteri Bottas. All right. It was on a fast lap at one point where Lewis Hamilton had the fastest lap point, and that was a key point for the championship. But they got Valtteri on a set of reds. He set a purple sector 1, and people were like, "Oh man, is he going to steal that point?" He set a purple sector 2. And then at that point, the strategist Valtteri, James Allison for Mercedes, got on the line, team radio, and said, "Valtteri, please back off your fastest lap attempt. We need that point for Lewis," pretty much. And he did back off in the final sector. But the craziest part was his first 2 sectors were so fast, he still set the fastest lap. And so that forced it where Lewis Hamilton, you heard him even jump on the radio saying, "Guys, I need that point. I need that lap." And Bono said, "Roger that, Lewis, we've got you. Come on in. We're going to get 1 extra stop here. We're going to put you on reds." And then Lewis Hamilton snuck out the fastest lap on literally the last lap of the race to steal that point back, to make sure that only Max Verstappen would only be leading by 3 points after this race. So it was an amazing race all of around for a lot of teams. And I think a lot of teams had some great races, and you've seen a lot of great racing and a lot of great showing from a lot of great drivers. But obviously, we've got to tip our hat to the #1 guy there that won his race, won his home Grand Prix, and that's Max Verstappen showing up and winning the Dutch Grand Prix.
Folks, if you like this show, you're watching it right now on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. That's Comeback Sports on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, Comeback Sports. And then all the cut-ups that our awesome producer, Ben Kudo, puts together after the show, that'll all filter to your YouTube channel. You don't have to go search for it. It's just right there in your subscriptions.